All right. Hello out there, everyone. I am Dr. Chara Willaford. I am the CEO, founder, and the educational architect of Be Your Best Yet Coaching, Consulting, Collaborating, a strategic educational consulting company. So, I would love, and so I thank you. I thank you to all of those that are live, as well as thank you to those of you that will view the recording. Welcome to Be Your Best Yet Principals PLC, or as I like to say principals, because we know that as principals, as school leaders, that we work better together. The job can be very isolating, so it's so much better if we have a community of other principals that we can lean upon as we are in pursuit of thrive at our schools. So, the focus of today's Principals PLC is principal clarity. And we know that clarity is one of the superpowers of being a principal. So, let me share my screen. And again, welcome. Go ahead as I'm sharing my screen. If you would like to invite someone on, feel free to go ahead and do that. Okay, here we go. I think we are ready. All right, empowered principals. So, again, as stated, I am Dr. Chara of Be Your Best Yet Coaching and Consulting and Collaborating, a strategic educational consulting firm. So, we're focused on Principals PLC today on empowered principals. Do not underestimate the power of consistency, clarity, communication, collaboration, check ins, and guess what, principals? Repeat. But for the focus of today, we're going to zero in on one of my favorite C words, clarity. So, our learning targets for today is that the audience, which is you, those live and those watching the recording, again, thank you. That you will understand the importance of setting clear expectations in school leadership. And I do realize that some here may be aspiring principals, or you might even be a principal supervisor. So that's why that just says school leadership, period. But particularly, this is our Principals PLC. So I will be speaking directly to my principals. Recognize the value of fostering open two-way communication in our schools, and really, principals appreciate the significance of simplifying decision-making processes in our schools' success. So let's dive in. So, principals, what really is clarity? In a nutshell, clarity is everyone under your watch, and by me under our watch, that means all stakeholders, that they know exactly what is expected of them and why. So that means, do parents know what's expected of them and why? Students, teachers, our cafe workers, our front office staff, every single stakeholder that is tied to your building must know exactly what is expected, of them and why. That is clear. And sometimes, principals, we assume that all of our stakeholders really know their why, and they don't. We have to share that with them, and especially as it relates to the mission and vision and values, and just the overall direction of the school, as well as your vision as principal also. So let's go ahead and let's dive into our three strategies for empowered principals. All right, strategy one, clarity strategy one. I'll let you read that for a moment. All right, clarity strategy one centers on setting clear expectations. So, principals, it is our duty and responsibility to clearly define and communicate in varied ways your school's goals and expectations. We typically do that every year as we compose and create our school continuous school improvement plans or school improvement plans, however your district terminology might be. But we must communicate exactly what that means. And that's through our action steps, that's through our standard operating procedures, where we take exactly what the expectations are and it's on paper. It has to be written down. So, of course, principals, when everyone knows what's expected, you'll see increased focus and commitment from students, staff, and parents. So, one example I will share is something that's very common in most of our schools, and that is collaborative planning. We're having a Principals PLC right now, but let's talk about collaborative planning. So, for collaborative planning, you may say that the expectation is that grade level teams or all teams will meet weekly to plan together. All right. So, that is an expectation. How does it relate back to your school improvement goal or just your overarching goals for the school? Are you doing this so that you can have teacher efficacy, collective efficacy, so that they can really delve into literacy? Like how does this act of collaborating at least once a week or twice a week relate back to the school goals? That's number one. So then the expectation piece is you stated that they must plan collaboratively at least once a week. So now let's clearly define and let's break down the expectations of this. What should this look like? What should this sound like? Who are the facilitators? What should team members bring? Is it only for content area teams? Will classified staff plan collaboratively together? What about our non-tested subject teachers? So what are really those expectations? How will you know who's going to facilitate? Who will collect notes? Will they look at data? What are really all of the expectations? So again, clearly define and communicate. Typically, what I mean by communicating, have it written down. That's where standard operating procedures come into play. Now, where collaborative planning, as another example, comes in with you as principals, you must also share this with parents so that parents know exactly what teachers are doing, why they're doing it, and why, if they come to the school or if they send you an email, that you know that they know that collaborative planning is even protected time for you as the building level administrator. Because where are you going to be? You are going to be in collaborative planning as well. So parents need to understand this also. And of course, students also must know why teachers plan collaboratively, how it relates back to them. And they also must know what are the school's goals and expectations of them as a student. Okay. Next, let's move to strategy number two. Clarity strategy number two. And that is foster open communication. I'll give you a moment to read that. Okay. All right, principals. This one is really, really important as it relates to clarity. So oftentimes we may communicate our vision, which is clarity strategy one. But now we've communicated the expectation of collaborative planning. Now we must encourage dialogue and feedback. We must have an open two-way channel of communication because guess what? That resolves doubts. You also get ahead of issues that may arise and it keeps everyone on the same page. So again, for our example of collaborative planning, the best way to have an open two-way channel of communication and resolving doubts and keeping everyone on the same page principles is what? You guessed it, actually attending and being in collaborative planning. That's one way. Another way is to conduct pulse checks often. How is collaborative planning going? What's working? What's not working? What do we need to refine? Exactly what part of collaborative planning are we focusing in on now? And how are we doing and offering feedback on that? That is an open two-way channel of communication that keeps everyone on the same page, which is what clarity means. As well as principles, you must encourage dialogue and feedback. This sometimes can be a tricky one for us as school leaders because we often think, oh, the people will come. No one has asked me any questions, so we assume that they understand or that they have it or that things are clear, and it may not be. So we have to set up again standard operating procedures around collecting and having dialogue and feedback. It's another one of those areas that must be added to another C word, which is our calendar and having the conversation, calendar and conversations, which will be another series. And last but not least, our strategy number 3, clarity strategy number 3. Simplify decision making. I'll give you a moment to read this. Okay. So for this one, principals, let's streamline our processes and decision making. Let's try our best, give our best effort to avoid complexity and make sure that your school's direction is crystal clear. I tend to like to liken it to asking yourself, is it clear as water or is it clear as mud? So again, let's go back to our example that we've been using today during Principals PLC, which is collaborative planning. So when we think about simplifying decision making and having clarity around collaborative planning, let's streamline the processes and the decision making. So what that means is this. Let's go ahead and write out our standard operating procedures for collaborative planning. What does it look like? What day of the week is it for this grade level, for this content area team, for this non-tested subject, for this set of classified staff, whatever the team that is supposed to get together to collaborate, let's go ahead and begin to write out our standard operating procedures. And then collaborative planning should look the same across the building, right? So how will you ensure that the processes so that you have that collaborative planning looks very similar across the building? And then avoid complexity and make sure that your school's direction is crystal clear. So, collaborative planning may not be in full implementation uh, just yet, but guess what? Staff members need to know where they are headed as it relates to collaborative planning. They need to see the bigger picture, but also know how they're doing along the way. Keep it simple. Um, Last but not least for this one, another example is if you were to do a pulse check within your building and think about a decision or a process that you have in your building right now. So tomorrow, I want you to go and randomly ask 5 to 6 different people and see if they all say the same thing. That's a quick way to do a pulse check on your decision making and really thinking about, are your processes muddied or are they clear as water? Again, even for this one, I would suggest or highly recommend that you have, when you meet with yourself, principals, and I know that you do, at least once a week, have a meeting with yourself, principals, and at least once a month with your leadership team that's centered around clarity, and pull out your standard operating procedures, which is just how you do things around your school. What's clear, what's not clear, related back to clarity strategy number one. Are we still clear with our goals, our mission, our purpose? Does everyone know what they're doing, how they're doing it, why they're doing it? Do I know as the principal, do we know as the leadership team where we are, as well as think about what are your standard operating procedures for shared decision making within your school. What decisions have you made recently? Do a decision making inventory. Who's made most of the decisions? Have they come from you as the principal, or have they been collaborative in terms of your leadership team? And of course, I know that some things do have to come from us directly as principals, but at all possible, um, have you shared why you made a decision so that people know why the decision was made if they were not able to be have a shared part in it? So again, that is clarity strategy 3: simplifying decision making, not overcomplicating what we do or the work, or getting to that bottom line. That's the key, not over complicating. Ask yourself, is it clear as water or clear as mud? And let me know, please let me know if you do a clarity pulse check and what were the results of it. I'd love to hear from you. So, as we begin to wrap up our Principals PLC on clarity for today, I want to leave you with a few closing thoughts. Leadership is about inspiring clarity amidst chaos. When you lead with clarity, you light the way for your school's success. Remember, principals, about human behavior. Humans, whether we are an adult human or whether we are in the child phase of being a human, humans thrive on consistency and predictable environments. So let's inspire clarity within our schools, because again, when we lead with clarity, we as principals light the way for our schools to be successful, because we make it less complicated. We ensure that everyone knows what our goals are, your role in the goal, what we are doing, why we are doing it, how we are doing it, and we're going to conduct post checks along the way so that we can progress monitor on ourselves. So last but not least, thank you again for attending our Be Your Best Yet Principals PLC, where we delved a little bit into clarity. So as you begin to exit, I'm curious. I want to hear from you. I want to know, how do you, as educators, ensure clarity in your school? Did this video resonate with our teachers, with anyone else beyond our school leaders and principals? Please, 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 as you watch this video, share it, send it to another principal, but also in the comment section, share your strategies, share your tips or stories in the comments. Let's continue to learn from each other, because remember, we truly are better together. So I am Dr. Chara. I am getting ready to sign out. And remember, empowered principals cultivate thriving schools. Have a great day or night, depending upon what time of day you are looking at this video. And again, thank you so much for those of you that have joined live, as well as those of you that are watching the recording. Please find me on social media. I am Be Your Best Yet, as well on Instagram and Facebook, and on Twitter. You can find me as Dr. Chara Chats. Thank you. I hope you learned something. Let's see.